Man, finding 10 new FNAF animatronics after using hundreds of them already? It's gonna be impossible. Unless no going on dodgy internet sites for this, okay? What if we do a look back on all the creepy animatronics we've covered and find the best of the best? Haha, that sounds like a good idea. You know me, you saw the title, let's do it. And a 10 anatomically correct ennard. Okay, no joke, I find this actually terrifying. Like a realistic metal zombie in a way. Anatomically correct ennard is best described by its name. It's a version of ennard where the metal parts that surround his body, his ennards I guess, are actually anatomically correct. Like they would form what looks like actual muscles. So there's more around the chest and they're like in the direction that like the muscle tendons and stuff would be under your skin. And that makes it horrifying and just terribly uncomfortable to look at, especially his face. And like, you know that, you stare at my face all day in videos. Like, you get what I mean. I don't know what it is about this ennard's face, but like without the mask, he just looks like a terrifying villain out of a Scooby-Doo movie, but like more realistic. Like if the latest iteration of like the live action Scooby Gang with like Robbie Amell as Fred Jones had gotten a third movie and they actually tried to make it scary, this is what they would be. Like, why is this necessary? Who felt compelled to make this and why did you subject me to it as well? Look, I'm sorry if you didn't know about this, but whoever made it, it's their fault, not mine. Wait, if it's anatomically correct, does that mean it has a... And at 9, Nightmare Ballora. Nightmare Ballora is a piece of work, holy crap. With thin like needles and that signature torn and battered Nightmare aesthetic, this is what I expect when I think about a Nightmare version of a character we have already seen. However, I'm getting some serious Fuerza from Flash Season 7 vibes here, especially from this image posted onto the FNAF subreddit by user Demolition Inevitable. And the rest of these are just terrifying, okay? Even the ones that most people would consider bad are actually messed up. This is the first animatronic on this list that really made me feel unsafe. And at 8, Ignited Funtime Freddy. Ah yes, a throwback to the meta numbers. A fan edit of a fan game. The Ignited animatronics from the fan game The Joy of Creation. A game where you play as Scott Cawthon and his family after he retires from FNAF and the animatronics come after him. Uh-oh, that sounds frighteningly familiar. But these animatronics are more destroyed than their previous counterparts, basically having their withered versions be set on fire, as I guess they tried to escape the hellscape that is the FNAF world. So that in essence is what Ignited Funtime Freddy looks like. Take a withered version of Funtime Freddy and then set them on fire and you'll basically have Ignited Funtime Freddy. With missing exosuit, casing on his legs pretty much every time, and other exposed bits of endoskeleton. Scott would be glad that at least in the game's universe he ended it before Sister Location was even a thought, since even Bon Bon is after him this time. And we all know how that's gonna end. And at 7, Spring Lich. Spring Lich was meant to appear in the FNAF fan game Dormitibus, another game that I love to come back to in order to find scary animatronics. There wasn't much planned for Spring Lich, but he was present in the Dormitibus beta. Modeled by Golden Nexus, Spring Lich is a green version of what seems to be Scrap Trap, with similar proportions to the head. However, this game was released before FNAF 6, so that's probably just a coincidence. Spring Lich's head is on backwards, meaning that he walks backwards while looking at you, and this was planned to be part of his minigame, since it would then make it possible for him to be tripped and stumble to actually like kinda get away. The character appears to be a Springlock victim, but with not much remaining on the inside. However, you can also see scratches and tears on the outside, like with all worn down animatronics. Someone needs to use better fabric for these guys. And at 6, Shadow Spring Bonnie. Shadow Spring Bonnie is one of the 2 primary antagonists of Final Nights 2. He is also one of the final animatronics in the game. Shadow Spring Bonnie resembles Springtrap, as to be expected when mentioning Springlock suits, and similar to Springtrap, he lacks the suit on his feet and has a majority of his right ear missing. Overall, he has rips, but he's not really missing any limbs or parts at all, which is a stark contrast to the burnt animatronics from the first 4 nights of that game. His face glows white, which is notable when he's in the hallway, but also gives him a more sinister appearance, and pushes that something supernatural idea like most Shadow animatronics have, like Shadow Bonnie from FNAF AR. Shadow Spring Bonnie takes the roles of Burnt Freddy and Burnt Foxy on night 5, so he's very fast and the player has to seal the vent quickly or else they'll get jump scared, and he also may appear in the hallway. Although you can never use the flashlight on this character, otherwise you'll get insta-kill. Inspect his face when he appears outside the door though, and if he's twitching, you'll need to close the door. A rattling sound will let you know when he's on the left, but the fact that you need to look at his face to see if you're in danger is horrifying, especially when most of what you need to do in these games relies on fast reflexes. Halfway through into number 5, Reaper Puppet. Ah yes, my arch nemesis, the Reaper Puppet. If you didn't know, the Reaper Puppet was the first fan animatronic ever featured on this channel. The first FNAF video by me on the channel was on January January 29, 2020 though. Can you believe that? It's been nearly 2 years. And the video I'm talking about came out a month later on February 24th, 2020. So I have a long history with this character. The Reaper puppet, along with Shadow Bonnie and the brother from Final Nights 1, are the only animatronics in the entire Final Nights series to start off the night outside. Reaper puppet appears to be a counterpart to the original series puppet, though it is only the Reaper puppet's head that is similar to the core series puppet. The rest of its body is dark shades of black, and it has a long, stretching arms with sharp fingers at its hand. It's like the Grim Reaper, okay? Like a Reaper puppet. He has multiple tentacle-like legs as well, which only makes me more sus. The Reaper puppet can easily be mistaken for a tree, and its legs are like long roots and the shoulders look like branches, but this thing is so creepy and I always include it on this list. But I was so creeped out when I first saw this animatronic. Like how kids in fazbear frights are drawn to the restaurants, I'm drawn to the Reaper puppet. In at 4, Slasher Fredbear. Slasher Fredbear by DeviantArt user PlayStation Jedi is an unholy abomination that must be stopped. I've talked about the Slasher animatronics before, particularly in the Bonnie alternate versions list. However, Slasher Fredbear is so much worse. He may not have a shotgun axe guitar, but oh my god. Let me read the description of this animatronic in the words of PlayStation Jedi himself. Quote, "The largest and strongest of all Slasher animatronics, Slasher Fredbear is an unstoppable force with enhanced strength and durability. Fredbear is capable of smashing through walls, withstanding lots of punishment, and grabbing heavy objects and throwing them across the room. While Fredbear uses his great strength to pick up and rip people in half, if he needs a quick kill, he can extend a blade mounted to his wrist to cut through people like butter. Or if he needs a ranged attack, he can use his 2 wrist-mounted LMG guns. Fredbear can switch between these weapons on the fly, either using 2 LMG guns, 2 blades, or 1 on each wrist." What the actual fuck? LMG stands for light machine gun, by the way, okay? Holy mother Christ. Like, this guy is going to make me cry myself to sleep, not to mention the spikes covering his body and the incredible amount of blood soaking him, because of course he does. Of course he needs it. And at 3, Sinister Baby. The Sinister animatronics have become somewhat of a staple on these lists for me now, and I mean, it's clear why. While the original baby is sinister in scheme, this one just looks like it's going to rip your guts out and get inside you, and not in a fun way. The real look to these kinds of things is basically like a repaired nightmare animatronic, with a clean exterior but the sharp teeth of a nightmare. Now, I'm not too sure if this is another fan-made character based off the fan game, or if it was actually going to be in the main fan game that has the Sinister animatronics, but at the very least, Sinister Baby is based on the unfinished and unreleased fan game Sinister Turmoil. And while we got 2 basically demo games to play before the game was ultimately cancelled, we never really got to see this animatronic in action if it wasn't made by a fan of the game. It's terrifying, it's horrific, and it's worthy of the top 3. And ultimately, in at number 2, Havoc Chica. Do I even need to explain? Havoc Chica, aka Maria, is a Havoc animatronic that hails from the Dormitibus universe. She's the Havoc version of Chica, obviously, and is a failed attempt by the Havoc puppet to give her spirit a physical form. While having the same color scheme as Chica, the two look nothing alike, thankfully. The mask Havoc Chica wears has a good amount of damage done to it. Her right eye socket has grown in size, arching upwards towards her feathers. The rest of her mask has small withering in a few places, mainly near her right eye socket and her forehead. She has no eyes, resulting in her being blind. Her jaw isn't directly connected to her head like the Chica from FNAF 1. Instead, her jaw looks more like her withered counterpart. Her jaw, in addition to this, has withering on both sides of it and some towards the front. Her entire head is attached to a suitless limb segment, making her head stick out from her body, and it's grotesque and nauseating to look at. She looks like this. Finally, in at number 1, Sinister Freddy. Sinister Freddy, while potentially being the thumbnail for this video, was also intended on releasing with the cancelled Sinister Turmoil fan game. Instead of the full game, however, we got Sinister Turmoil Sewers, which is a small section of what would have been the full game. Sinister Freddy is a brown animatronic bear with a lighter shade of brown on his stomach, snout, and the insides of his ears. He appears to have damage on his suit, but still has the sharp teeth and no eyes. His whole suit appears to be severely withered, having large rips and tears on several pieces of his body, and Sinister Freddy sports large needle-like weapons on his wrists, kinda like hidden blades, but they're not hidden at all. He also appears to have small geometrically shaped claws and nails. Sinister Freddy also has a mouth with sharp teeth, as per usual, and some under his body that you can actually see if you look really closely, but you don't want to get too close, otherwise he's gonna bite your head off like Pennywise. I don't like it, but it's absolutely terrifying and deserved to be number 1, even over the Dormitibus animatronics, so yeah. That's all the time we have for today's video, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Shower Man Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.